Hello again. Okay, so what's on the UAsk IAnswer menu for this week then? Another very simple and straightforward question. How can I assess the readiness for change within an organisation? The question was sent in by Paul Bowes, who is the Regional Director, Manufacturing Excellence for Target Sourcing Services in Hong Kong, and was previously the Director QA Production and Manufacturing Excellence for Walmart Global Sourcing. Although the question is quite simple and straightforward, it's a very important question for organisations to ask themselves before embarking on their change journey. Excuse me, it's a bit warm today. The subject of change readiness is also a very, very big subject. When I did a recent search on Google, as an example, using the search string Change Readiness Assessment, it came back with over 117 million hits. So, kind of got my work cut out in trying to keep the answer to this succinct and straightforward and simple. But I think you know me by now. I hope I manage to do it. All right. I think first of all, it might be a good idea if I explain the difference between what I call business readiness assessment. I've spoken about that quite a few times before in previous videos, and organisation change readiness assessment. All right. At a simple level, you know me, my brain, my simplistic, pragmatic, straightforward brain. Business readiness assessment is a cyclical measurement process that tracks the readiness of your project from inception through to go live in specified areas of the business. Right. On the other hand, this hand, that hand, whichever. Okay. On the other hand, organisation change readiness assessment is an exercise conducted at the beginning of your project or initiative to assess how ready your organisation is for the change. However, the two can actually be done in tandem if necessary. All right. But obviously for this video, I'll concentrate on organisational change readiness assessment. My goodness, that's a bit of a mouthful, isn't it? So from now on in, I'm going to call it OCR assessment. It makes life easier for me, doesn't it? All right, moving on. So a bit more detail. An OCR assessment answers the question, are we ready for this change? And informs decisions such as whether to proceed with a change, how to address the risks, and what resources will be most valuable. It's an official measurement of preparedness of your organisation to undergo a major change or take on a significant new project. It includes a set of tasks, all right, that help you identify how prepared your organisation is. The level of readiness assessed will be based on the scale of the change itself, as well as the severity of the impacts. A large-scale change with severe impacts will involve a more comprehensive assessment than a change with minor impacts. You don't say. Pretty obvious, really, isn't it? Anyway, I had to say it. Okay. All right. But why do it? Why do we have to expend all this effort and energy on an assessment? All right. Conducting an OCR assessment will give you some key indicators that your organisation's proposed endeavour will be successful or otherwise. My good friends at ProSci say that there are two assessments that should be done. One, assessment of the change. Two, assessment of the organisation. Okay, assessment of the change examines the depth and the overall size of the change and should address things like scope of the change, number of employees impacted, type of change, and amount of change from where we are today. This is essential to plan your change strategy. On the other hand, assessment of the organisation is getting a view of the unique characteristics that make change management either easy or complicated. This assessment would cover areas such as culture and value system, capacity for change, leadership styles and power distribution, residual effects of past changes, middle management's predisposition toward the change, and employee readiness for the change. Thank you, ProSite. Great stuff. Moving on. An OCR assessment will also help you address potential project failures before they become big problems, and also help you to address changes, got a bit stuck there, address changes with employees to determine if they're ready and have the ability and resources that they need to be part of it, the change I mean. I've stressed the importance of employee involvement in previous videos. It's an absolutely essential part of the change process to involve employees. So, what are the steps needed to actually undertake an OCR assessment? I'm sweating again. I think there are 3 steps, to be honest. Planning, data gathering, and then data analysis and reporting. Planning includes things like agreeing the scope, relevant and necessary communications, any accompanying logistics involved, and agreeing questions, and final reporting formats. Data gathering is conducting the actual assessments, undertaking risk assessment, periodic checkpoints of data quality, identification of change champions or change blockers, and the identification of key drivers for the go or no-go decision. Data analysis and reporting is undertaking detailed analysis of the collected data, creating a written report of the findings, sharing those findings with a sponsor and key stakeholders as well, and creating rolling action plans to manage problem areas and also to mitigate risk. Sounds quite simple really, doesn't it? I can assure you it actually isn't that simple. It's a fair bit of work. All right, so who should do it? You have an option. You can have it done internally by someone from inside your organisation or externally by a third party. To ensure independence and openness of those who will be part of the OCR assessment, I recommend that you actually have it done by an independent third party, because a third party will be able to look at your organisation and your proposed project objectively without the attachment to it that somebody internally might have, which will likely get in the way of a realistic assessment. Your third party will also look at your organisational resources and the needs of the project and use this information to prepare a custom approach for you. They will then also, if you ask them to, conduct the OCR assessment. Using the approach they prepared, then give you a detailed report of their findings and will also consult with you on those findings and the reason for their recommendations. Rightio, all good stuff, I think. What about outcomes? Right. The results of the OCR assessment will give you the benefit of identifying the strengths of your organisation, in particular, the things that will be the strongest assets for you and your proposed change. In addition, it will allow you to know whether your organisation meets the requirements to even consider your change project in the first place. If you don't have the requirements now, the OCR assessment will let you know what you need to acquire so you can make any necessary changes or provide training in order to make the proposed project a successful one and that your organisation is actually able to deliver it. My final word, an OCR assessment is a great tool for kicking off the overall change management process. It not only informs you on the level of readiness, but also provides a roadmap of recommendations for areas to focus on. Change is hard sometimes, but planning for it doesn't have to be, okay? Actually, I told a lie. My final word, and this is kind of not to do with the question. And before you say it, I've asked this before, I know, but I don't mind repeating things. I've noted a decline in the number of views and engagement on my videos, all right? So I'm kind of wondering why that is, yeah? So if you have a mind to, I'd like to ask a favour. Provide me with some feedback. For example, are they becoming boring? Is it my newsreader delivery style? Yeah? Am I answering the right questions? Bearing in mind that the questions are actually sent in to me, but I do choose them. Yeah? Are the videos too long? Kind of between 10 and 15 minutes, sometimes slightly go over the 15 minutes. So, or anything else for that matter on the videos and so forth, and me and whatever. I don't mind taking constructive criticism whatsoever. So give it to me. There's a song there. Give it to me, give it to me. Sorry. Right. Okay. Remember, these videos are for you, the change management community. So I want to make sure that I'm continuing to deliver value. That's it really. I'll see you again next time. Cheers.